Hi, everyone. Today I'm going to be presenting our work on trenching the causative faults of the 2019 Ridgecrest sequence. This work, before I start, is motivated by a desire to not only learn more about these faults that ruptured during this sequence. We want to know kind of recurrence, how big, how often previous earthquakes might have occurred on these, but we also wanted to test whether these two faults always ruptured together, or whether this was a one-off, somewhat random event. So to that aim, we dug 6 total trenches, of which I'll show you 5 today, at 3 different sites on both of the faults. So the Paxton Ranch fault, for the magnitude 7.1, and the Salt Wells Valley fault was the magnitude 6.4 earthquake that preceded it by a day. If we look, I'll show you our best site first, which is in the Searles Valley, the southernmost part of the magnitude 7.1 rupture. Here, there's an uphill facing scarp that has a sag pond that is developed behind it. If we look at our trench, this is from west to east, water flowing downhill from left to right. We see there's basically a basin that is formed with progressive uplift of this, the right side of this fault. We zoom in on this image of the trench wall. I can show you there's a very clear sequence of lacustrine and fluvial sediments. At the bottom, we have fine sands, imbricated beach gravels. Then we have some silty clay layers that might have been a dried lake bed, or could be deeper lacustrine facies. And we have some sediments, fluvial sediments above that from the kind of more modern wash channel setting. There's a very clear fault trace here that dislocates this contact here. It comes up something like this. It breaks the bottom of this unit, but then it is capped somewhere in this gravel like this. It definitely does not break this clay layer. So we have our oldest clear event horizon is here. Moving to the right, there's this second dislocation of these units like this. We can trace this one all the way nearly to the surface, but it's very clearly capped again by this fluvial sand here, which that fluvial sand in turn is then broken in 2019 by the magnitude 7.1 rupture. So we have a very clear sequence of 3 earthquakes. We expect that the age of these, we're still waiting on our OSL results to be processed, but we expect that the age of these lacustrine sediments is probably about the high stand of fluvial Searles Lake, so about 12,000 years or so. So 3 events in 12,000 years, if we have the same displacement per event, which is maybe reasonable based on the vertical at least component, we probably have a slip rate of about 0.3 millimeters per year. Okay, I'm going to quickly show you our other sites from the magnitude 7.1. These ones do not have as clear of young late Pleistocene Holocene stratigraphy. We didn't have enough deposition of these sites to really preserve evidence of multiple events. In this site here, this is high in the Paxton, or in the Spangler Hills, which is the range that separates the Searles Valley from China Lake. There's this heavily sheared bedrock that's thrust over some very indurated lacustrine sediments. Our preliminary radiocarbon ages for some shells from those came out about 40,000 years. So this is an older fluvial lake. It's then capped by a wash gravel. There's clear kind of distributed faulting throughout this, but we don't see clear evidence for multiple events other than the heavily sheared nature of this. Here is another trench. Again, we have old lacustrine sediments capped by the soil and a high amount of shearing on multiple fault strands through that. If we look at our Salt Wells Valley trenches, we have 2 trenches here. One of them, they're adjacent to each other. This is the site T1 and T2. So T1, we have a lot of heavily sheared bedrock with some fan deposition against it. We do in this one see upwardly terminating fissures and fractures, carbonate line fractures that are clearly older than the penultimate event. But the stratigraphy wasn't clear enough with enough deposition to really separate events. And so these are likely a result of numerous events rather than just one older event. We look at the site that we excavated in channel. We think we only have one event in this kind of what we're expecting to be a Holocene stack of sands. So this one event compared to our 3 events kind of for the Holocene shows that these faults don't likely always rupture together, and instead it's a bit more complicated. Thank you.